Thank you so much for being with us today. We have interviewed a number of candidates, be it virtually or in person. So once again, on behalf of the committee, we appreciate the fact that you have applied and put your name forward. My name is Regan Allen, and I'm the chairperson for Community Safety, which has oversight over the Department of Community Safety, and by extension, we have oversight over the Western Cape Liquor Authority. With me, I have my colleagues, member Lorraine Botha, I have member Mesuli Kama, and member Gillian Bosman. We are a multi-party committee, and we are interviewing candidates. Thereafter, we will deliberate on the candidates and make recommendations. Is that clear to you? Ma'am? Is that clear to you? Were you able to hear me? Hello? Ma'am, were you able?
I can hear you say.
Okay, what we will do now is member Botha, member Kama, and member Bosman will ask initial questions. You have 3 minutes to answer those questions, and we may ask a follow-up question or a question for clarity, but we will afford you closing remarks as well. I trust that is clear with you. I'll now hand over to member Kama to ask the first question.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Ms. Sibia.
Afternoon.
My question is, what, according to the Liquor Act, are the responsibilities of the Western Cape Liquor Authority Board?
What, according to the Liquor Act?
Yes, so what, according to the Liquor Act, are the responsibilities of the Western Cape Liquor Authority Board?
Okay. According to the Western Cape Liquor Act of 2008, the responsibility of the Western Cape Liquor Authority is to manage the business of the Western Cape Liquor Authority. Is to administer the regulations of the Western Cape Liquor Authority, is to perform and conclude contract, appoint and dismiss staff in the Western Cape Liquor Authority, is to open an account and maintain that account. So they open an account for the Western Cape Liquor Authority, and then they maintain that account. They also receive applications, liquor application and exemptions, and they transmit it to the liquor tribunal. So they also issue licenses on those applications that were granted by liquor tribunal. Yes, that's what I understand about them.
Thank you so much for your answer. I will now note member Botha to ask her question.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bia.
Afternoon, ma'am.
What skills and knowledge would you bring to the board if you are appointed? And what would your value add be to the board?
Okay. The knowledge that I'm bringing, first, I have more than 10 years of knowledge in terms of liquor licensing. Since I've worked for KwaZulu-Natal Liquor Authority, which was, and then KwaZulu-Natal Department of Economic Development, where I was basically everything, an all-rounder, because while I was at Department of Economic Development, I was the board's administration officer and secretary. So basically, I was doing everything in terms of liquor licensing up up to the final stage of liquor adjudication, and then after that, up to communicating the message or communicating the decision of the board to the community or to the applicant or to the consultant or sometimes to our stakeholders, like your SAPS, your SAPs, sometimes when they need stats for licensed liquor premises, they came to me as the board secretary and also the board's admin officer. So I've got vast knowledge when it comes to liquor licensing. I never worked at Western Cape Liquor Authority, but I've got the knowledge of the act, and it's not it can be different, but similar in terms of its liquor licensing, and it's much easier for me to adapt to it. As much as it is different to what I was working with, but it's much easier because the requirements needed in order for a person to acquire a license, the processes involved when someone has a license, the processes involved when someone is being issued with a license, and when someone is already have that license in terms of renewing a license and everything that I do understand more. And when it comes to my values, my values, I value integrity. I value integrity a lot because I understand that in a working environment, you need to be honest. You need to make sure that you work fairly to yourself, to your colleagues, and to the public at large that you are serving. So honesty to me, it's vital. I believe that my other values, I've got quite a few, but I can say accountability also. Accountability is vital, it's imperative, especially when you are a board member, because you cannot shift the blame. You can only say what you did and take responsibility of it. We're humans. Sometimes we do errors or we make mistakes, but as a board member, it's vital for you to take responsibility of whatever you are doing or whatever you did, especially when it comes to taking decision like licensing or issuing licensing or granting or refusing licenses. Because if you don't take responsibility, there will be more complaints in terms of your decision-taking skills. People will complain about you, not just people, but applicants, consultants, everyone, they will complain. And then when people are complaining about the board, that means people are complaining about the whole Western Cape Liquor Authority. And when they complain, then they will lose trust. And then when they lose trust, people will only, when you lose trust in something, you just believe that thing is fake. If someone got a license from that particular organization, you will just say maybe you bribed someone, because obviously they don't account. So if you were able to get a license in that particular organization, maybe you did something bad or you did something that you were not supposed to do. So accountability is vital, because if you're not accountable as a board member, that means you will not be able to be accountable to the province or to the Western Cape Liquor Authority. And
Ms. Sibaya?
Competence is vital to be able to do your job as what you were employed to do, and do it even more.
Thank you so much for that answer, Ms. Sibaya. You have reached the 3-minute mark on that question. We appreciate the detail I will now hand over to Member Bosman to ask his question.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, my question is, what are your thoughts on managing the risks associated with alcohol harms versus the role of the Western Cape Liquor Authority in growing the economy, noting that liquor and the alcohol industry in this province makes a massive contribution to the GDP. So how would you say the Western Cape Liquor Authority needs to go about balancing?
I don't get the question, sir. Can you please repeat?
Sure, I will repeat. The question I'm asking is, what are your thoughts on managing the risks associated with alcohol harms versus the benefits that the alcohol industry have for the economy of the Western Cape? So how does the Liquor Authority create a balance between reducing the risks but also not harming the economic activity that is associated with the alcohol industry?
Okay. Thank you for the question.
We are unable to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, yes. Ma'am? Ma'am, are you able to hear me? There is just... Is it on hold? It's only on speaker. Ms. Sibia?
I can hear you, sir. Yes, I can hear you.
The question based from Member Bosman. You can go ahead with your question, with your answer.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Oh, okay. From my information, and I believe that Western Cape is when it comes to liquor, we all know that it's got a great impact on our economic development because they brew it. In South Africa, it is well known for its brewing and wines making other than other provinces. So it has got a great impact when it comes to economic development. But in reducing it, I mean, in making sure that it doesn't harm as much, we make sure that it doesn't harm. I think it's when it comes to Western Cape Liquor Authority, we may reduce, maybe reducing the availability of alcohol by reducing and maybe regulating trading times and days in terms of the act. At the board, they've got the right of regulating or putting a recommendation in terms of regulations. I think that because maybe if people know that you don't get liquor every day, there are certain days and certain times that you get liquor, I think that can decrease or reduce. And maybe when it's come, we must do an awareness campaigns at school to children, and just to they know that liquor, you can live without liquor, but you must put education and you must group or involve other stakeholders like your Department of Education, Department of Health when it comes to that. Promotes education and awareness programs together with those stakeholders. And I think in the communities, maybe when we involve policing forums and other community structures in terms of identifying those unlicensed liquor premises or liquor outlet, and then allow SAPF and our inspectors as Western Cape Liquor Authority to intervene there, because the unlicensed ones, the unlicensed premises are not known to us. So if we can work with the community to make sure that they are known to us, so then we can deal with them. We can even educate them and train them, educate them on how to acquire a liquor license. And maybe if we maybe can increase the price of alcohol, and people will know that I can't just get alcohol anyhow. I can only get it on my payday or on those special occasions. I think, when it comes to drinking and driving, it tends to be more monitored, and people need to know that not only on roadblocks that they are tested, breathalyzers, but it's a regular thing, regular checks. Even with the bleeds, regular bleeds with SAPS and other stakeholders, even with our inspectors, regular checks, regular inspections, so that people will be scared, will be afraid, that because they know that it is checked regularly and be monitored.
Masibia, thank you so much for your detailed answer. You've exceeded your 3 minutes. Just a last question from my side, in terms of what you are currently doing. What is currently keeping you busy? And in terms of the role, should you be appointed, would you be able to commit in order to fulfill your role as a board member, should you be appointed? If you can speak to the two, please.
Oh, okay. I must speak to the role.
Yes, your current
My
role.
role.
And should you be appointed, would you be able to be committed in terms of what you need to do as a board member if you are appointed?
Okay. And then the second question?
If you can just speak to the two. That you are currently busy, or you are overextended already, for example, or you have free time.
Okay. Currently, I am flexible. I am flexible for the fact that the job or the career that I'm currently doing it's my passion. So I can do it anyhow. I can work with people because I'm consulting with people. I'm also doing the campaigns in terms of communication. By the way, I'm doing public relations, and it's my final year. So doing all those events and my other businesses, it won't even really affect myself, because myself as a person, I've got good time management skills. And I believe that time management skills is one of the most critical skills, because without it, everything can delay. And you can delay the whole process of the organization, or there will be lack of production without the time management. And without time management, you cannot be able to plan. With those planning skills, even if you do have, but if you can't manage your time, you cannot be able to manage. With time management, planning skills, even if you have your organizational skills, but you cannot do it. So I believe that I'm also able to work under pressure, but with time management, there's no need for me to work under pressure, because everything is planned accordingly. Even if I need to be, because for me, being a board member or being in the Western Cape Liquor Board, it's a passion. It's something that I love to do. I've been doing it for 10 years. And for me, it's not about being in the board, but it's about assisting people and helping them develop themselves in their businesses. Or because, with liquor, some people, most of them, they don't have background, educational background. So they believe that with this business, it's something that can, it's my business. I can feed my family, I can do anything, even without qualification. So for me, it's business development for most people. And even if for those who've got other businesses, maybe the restaurants in the urban areas, it's also business development and economic development. So it's a passion for me. So if I need to go to the Western Cape Liquor Board meeting, I can even delegate, because I know with the one that I'm doing now, delegation it's fine, because I know what to do. Even if I can come back at night after the meeting, doing what I'm doing now, it's fine.
Masibia, thank you so much for your detailed answers. We appreciate the fact that we were able to get you online so that we can interview and engage with you. It is highly appreciated. We appreciate the time that you have taken and going the extra mile in order to speak to us and to answer our questions today. I will double check with the members if there's any questions for clarity or any follow-up questions.
I have one, Chair. I just wanted to check, Mr. Bias, your CV lists your address as being in Pietermaritzburg.
I beg yours?
Your CV states that your address is in Pietermaritzburg. Are you a resident of the Western Cape or KwaZulu-Natal?
I'm a resident of the Western Cape. Basically, I used to tell my friends that I'm Khalo because my mother is from Western Cape and my father is from KZN. So fortunately, I was most of my time and my upbringing was in Western Cape. But then I got a job in KZN.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. I just wanted to check because your CV states that you live in Pietermaritzburg.
No, I'm there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, thank you so much. We appreciate the time that you have taken. The process now will be that the committee has interviewed a number of candidates. We will deliberate and then we will make recommendations to the provincial minister as well as to the Department of Community Safety. And thereafter, contact will be made with all the applicants. Once again, thank you for applying and for taking the time to be interviewed. We are highly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
May you have a good day further.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was Georgia. She was reading the paper. Are you available? It's a yes or no.
Yeah.
7 minutes. Must be you missed all of them. The chairperson provides you with that. Just on that one. This is got it.
So, members, we have the last person now. We will go to the.
She says she was walking in the but she was a secretary. What's up? Can I call you later? I'm just going to do the last one.
which provides the committee exercises oversight over the Department of Community Safety and by extension, the Western Cape Liquor Authority. We are a multi-party committee. To my left, we have member Lorraine Botha.
Good afternoon.
Behind member Botha, we have member Kama. And behind me, we have member Gillian Bosman. To my right, we have Mr. Wasim Matthews, who you already engaged with. But firstly, thank you for being here and for indulging us. We will get straight into it. We will ask a number of questions. Each member will ask one question. You have 3 minutes to answer each question. Thereafter, there could be a potential follow-up or a question regarding any clarity that is needed. But at the end, we will afford you closing remarks. So we will dig in right from the beginning. You are the very last person for the day. But again, thank you for being here. And I will jump straight into Member Kama.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good afternoon, Mr. Brits. What, according to the Liquor Act, are the responsibilities of the Western Cape Liquor Authority Board?
Yeah, is it on now? Okay. Their responsibility is to issue the liquor license to the person that applies for the license. And they've also, when they do this, they've also got to, they've got to also advertise as well. And then the person fills in the application, he submits it, and then from there, the liquor authority has to decide whether they can allocate this license or not. Does he comply to all the requirements needed, e.g. zoning? Zoning, is that in order or not? What else is there? Zoning. Is the, yeah, well, in other words, is the place where it's going to be, it's very important that the liquor board's got to check that it's nowhere near a school, a church, or a home for elderly citizens. It would be very difficult to allocate a license under those conditions. And then if the liquor board does turn it down, then the person involved does have the right to appeal.
Much. We will now note Member Lorraine Botha.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Hello,
Brits.
Lorraine.
What skills and knowledge would you bring to the board if you are appointed to the board? And what would your value add be to the board?
Well, okay, I'll start with the last question. Value add, I am very strict about ethics, that the right ethics has got to be followed. There's no, it's either what's the word? It's either black or white, if you know what I mean? That there's no underhand dealings, no bribery, nothing of that nature. That is to me most important, that we function as a board that is noted for integrity. And then the value I bring is, apart from being a social worker, apart from being a counsellor, I was previously a social worker for 15 years. And I worked in communities where there were rife alcohol problems. For example, where there was the parents, you would use alcohol, the children would be neglected, just be left to their own, to their own. And I would go from the social work perspective background, because as well, at the moment our society is being torn apart in the Western Cape and even other parts of the country, but now the Western Cape is by alcohol, and that South Africa is known, unfortunately, and within the African context, is to have the highest problem with alcohol consumption. So I would definitely bring my social work skills that I've had in practice. I've had in practice, because I had to refer people, for example, to De Novo. That was the old rehab center, and then I also had to do aftercare, and also had to do therapy with the families involved. And also what I would do is I would involve the youth, the youngsters, pre-education, advise them on alcohol. Because look, alcohol is not evil. It's just got to be used correctly. And our biggest problem that it's facing us is this, they call it fermented sugar. That's the type of beverage I sell. That's got a very detrimental effect on the people today.
Thank you so much. I'll now note Member Gillian Bosman.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. The role of the liquor authorities, on the one hand, to ensure that it mitigates against the harms that alcohol does, but
Yes.
it also has to protect the industry, because the liquor industry is a big contributor to the GDP of the province.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on how we go about managing the risks associated with alcohol harms versus not harming the economy and the contribution that the alcohol industry makes to the GDP of this province and the creation of jobs? So if you're a member of the board, how would you go about sort of making sure that that balance is achieved?
All right. Okay. Number one, I just want to endorse what you said about alcohol in our province, where it's also a major job creator, and also the link between agriculture and alcohol. And also, we are very dependent for our province to thrive. We're very dependent on tourism, and on tourism. And what I would do to try and curb these issues and to try and get awareness is, which I endorse, that the province has, is where when they have events, they don't advertise alcohol. And also, perhaps at schools, you'll find young people, they will see a sport hero, let's call him X, and he's having a Hansa, to try and avoid that. And then also to try and get stricter law enforcement, to try and train the law enforcement officers to be more alert to what they're doing, then to perhaps have more roadblocks, to have those, even to try and think of having breath testers at the roadblocks. What else is there? And also, when they make alcohol, not to put so much ethanol into the alcohol. That's also a thing to look at. But chiefly, as I said, that is,
Thank you so much. I'll ask the last question. Thereafter, there may be a follow-up or a question regarding clarity. In terms of your current role,
yes,
and what you are currently involved in, if it's community or companies, etc., and the role should you be appointed to the board, would you be able to be committed to the role of a member should you be appointed? And how do you see this, the two speak to one another?
Okay, well, from our side, should I be appointed and I've got a role elsewhere, you've got to look at that. You have to look at that, because that's very important, having they call it the vested interest. That I will have to forfeit and just focus on studying what I'm doing and get the job carried out. Because that's very important.
Thank you so much. I'll ascertain from members if there's any follow-up, a question for clarity. You are covered. Mr. Brits, we are covered. Any closing remarks from your side?
I'm trying to think. No, should I be given the opportunity, I will perform it with the utmost dedication, because everything I do, if I tackle something, I do it with dedication, and I make sure it's carried out and is done. And I will do my utmost best to ensure that the job, my position, that I carry out what I've got to do, and that the board also does what it's got to do. And we've got to, as I say, we've got to address the problems of that alcohol can cause in communities. We've got to be proactive, and that's what I'll do. I'll go for the proactive, and also the involvement of communities, the involvement of CPFs, the involvement of non-governmental organizations. So I have experienced that they are extremely helpful, and one must never underestimate the assistance that they can bring. and what they can bring to the table in order to tackle this problem that's facing us.
Mr. Brits, thank you so much.
Okay.
We, as I stated in my opening remarks, the committee has conducted a number of interviews. We will deliberate. We will then make recommendations to the department and to the minister, and then communication will be entered into with all the applicants regarding the status. But once again, thank you for making yourself available and for being here today.
Okay. No, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice evening. All
May
the best.
you have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
And
Have a
thank
great
you.
Weekend. Okay. Thanks.
Committee members, thank you so much for your indulgence today, for making time during Constituency Week to be available here today. It is highly appreciated. We have concluded interviewing a number of candidates, 17 to be precise. 2 has withdrawn. We will now deliberate on our we will now deliberate on our raw scores and discuss it further before we make any recommendation that will be forwarded. This meeting will now be concluded in terms of the open section. To the procedural officer, thank you so much. In terms of Rule 72, as indicated, to safeguard the discussions, because we will be discussing scores, etc. Thank you. I trust that is in order. To those watching on YouTube and any candidate that is still watching, thank you so much for availing yourself. This meeting is now closed.